"If that's all you know about, you may stand down," continued the king.
"I can't go no lower," said the Hatter. "I'm on the floor as it is."
"Then you may sit down," the king replied.
Here the other guinea pig cheered, and was suppressed.
It was high time to go, for the pool was getting quite crowded with the birds and animals that had fallen into it. There were a duck and a dodo, a lory and an eaglet, and several other curious creatures. Alice led the way, and the whole party swam to the shore.
Alice looked at the jury box and saw that in her haste she had put the lizard in head downwards, and the poor little thing was waving its tail about in a melancholy way, being quite unable to move. She soon got it out again and put it right. "Not that it signifies much," she said to herself. "I should think it would be quite as much use in the trial one way up as the other."
"Please, Your Majesty," said the knave, "I didn't write it, and they can't prove that I did. There's no name signed at the end."
"Well, if you didn't sign it," said the king, "that only makes the matter worse. You must have meant some mischief, or else you'd have signed your name like an honest man."
He unfolded the paper as he spoke and added, "It isn't a letter after all. It's a set of verses." "Are they in the prisoner's handwriting?" asked another of the jurymen. "No, they're not," said the White Rabbit, "and that's the queerest thing about it."
"That's different from what I used to say when I was a child," said the Gryphon. "Well, I never heard it before," said the Mock Turtle, "but it sounds uncommon nonsense." Alice said nothing. She had sat down with her face in her hands, wondering if anything could ever happen in a natural way again. "I should like to have it explained," said the Mock Turtle. "She can't explain it," hastily said the Gryphon. "Go on with the next verse."
"You're looking for eggs. I know that well enough. And what does it matter to me whether you're a little girl or a serpent?"
"It matters a good deal to me," said Alice hastily. "But I'm not looking for eggs, as it happens, and if I was, I shouldn't want yours. I don't like them raw."
"Well, be off then,"
said the pigeon in a sulky tone, as it settled down again into its nest.
"And what did the dormouse say?" one of the jury asked. "That I can't remember," said the Hatter. "You must remember," remarked the king, "or I'll have you executed." The miserable Hatter dropped his teacup and his bread and butter and went down on one knee. "I'm a poor man, Your Majesty," he began. "You're a very poor speaker," said the king.
"You're nothing but a pack of cards." At this, the whole pack rose up into the air and came flying down upon her. She gave a little scream, half of fright and half of anger, and tried to beat them off, and found herself lying on the bank, with her head in the lap of her sister, who was gently brushing away some dead leaves that had fluttered down from the trees upon her face.
"Are their heads off?" shouted the Queen. "Their heads are gone, if it please your Majesty," the soldiers shouted in reply. "That's right," shouted the Queen. "Can you play croquet?" The soldiers were silent and looked at Alice, as the question was evidently meant for her. "Yes," shouted Alice. "Come on, then," roared the Queen.
Just then she heard something splashing about in the pool a little way off, and she swam nearer to make out what it was. At first she thought it must be a walrus or a hippopotamus, but then she remembered how small she was now, and she soon made out that it was only a mouse that had slipped in like herself.
"You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white, and yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think, at your age, it is right?" "In my youth," Father William replied to his son, "I feared it might injure the brain, but now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why, I do it again and again."
She generally gave herself very good advice, though she very seldom followed it, and sometimes she scolded herself so severely as to bring tears into her eyes. and once she remembered trying to box her own ears for having cheated herself in a game of croquet she was playing against herself. For this curious child was very fond of pretending to be two people.
Don't let him know she liked them best, for this must ever be a secret kept from all the rest between yourself and me.